Sometimes in life we face transformative moments that require us to find the courage to ask for help. It's hard enough to deal with change to begin with because we can become very used to what we know, even if that's self-destructive. Issues like addiction, depression, abuse, weight loss can all be very complicated because on top of dealing with the traditional issues of pride, distorted belief systems, and a resistance to change, we could be dealing with physiological and psychological issues that require us to ask for help. Once you get past all those obstacles, then you face all the options and figuring out which one's right for you. Every step along the way to make change can be enough to knock you off that path. And today's story is about my friend Mike Schlitz, who's a Long Island native and has had a lifelong struggle with weight. About a year ago, he finally got inspired to ask for help. And because of that, he's lost about 160 pounds.
You know, growing up, always being heavy, always having, no fashion sense or, things like that. So we're projecting and how you feel. And that was always a big thing where it's like, I was always confident inside, but the outside didn't, maybe be that. So, but always struggling to, clean plate club was brought up. So it was kind of like, finish your plate. And then it was like, well, now I think, no, I don't want to finish the plate. I want to eat right. Growing up, my mom was always on diet. So we were always following that, kind of doing, between Weight Watchers or, all different types of different eating styles. But for me, it was always up and down. It's like I always try to eat healthy, but it was more, in the end, 8 portions that were just too large. It was more of a social thing where it's like, everything always dealt around food on Sundays or, when you go with family and doing things or the holidays and, it just, family time was always food. So it's like always, it's good and bad. It's nice to be able to get together, but then it was always like, how do you control yourself? I would fluctuate probably 30 to 50 pounds at a time when I would lose or gain. And, it was slowly like a ladder clicking upward where I just, would lose some, gain some, through high school and 20s, say, I was below 300, but it was always up or down. Once I got into my 30s and past that, got a little bit higher, and I was over 330, my mid 30s, and tried to lose weight and, here or there, but really my job itself was more of a sediment job, so it was always rough. You're dating and, everybody's coupled up but yourself. That was a big struggle usually. Yeah, that was always big in high school. If you ever look back, I was always by myself. You figure you go into it, you try to ask people out or go out, and it was always kind of, why am I rejected? I'm a nice guy, you do all these things, and just like, I just kept being me. So it wasn't, a time where I didn't think about weight loss and how I felt and, the sizes. I ended up becoming, I went to size 48, in pants, say, and 4X shirts, and I was just like, I just didn't feel comfortable. It was just like bags over me. And so like in the wintertime, shoveling snow was never an easy task. Carrying that kind of weight was not healthy, putting stress on the body. My legs were starting to show. My body itself was starting to grow in ways that I just wasn't, I'm like, no, this is not good, and because you just start carrying it in all different areas and everybody carries it differently, but, as you keep growing, I think losing and growing where it's like, it definitely pushes the limits of your body. 2 years ago this time, I went on a hike with my son, Spencer's Boy Scout troop, and we went to Alpine, New Jersey, and we went on this hike, and I nearly felt like I was gonna die at the end. I had no energy, I couldn't. The weight itself was just holding me back from finishing, I was just so exhausted in my body. I felt actually like what I see like people on The Biggest Loser when they're being pushed so far where they can't move, or I'm like, I don't know how I got through it. But I did, and that was kind of like, wow, okay. That was kind of a point where it's like, I didn't realize I needed to make more of a change. And
So back in 2015, Mike elected to go for a relatively new procedure called the gastric sleeve. In this orthoscopic surgery, they remove about 90% of your stomach. The benefits of this include minimal risk as far as complications in the surgery, a fast recovery time, and significant weight loss.
And so I ended up going to a seminar for it and really, I had thought about it probably when I was younger, about operations or, and the bypass thing was not what I was interested in, like totally moving your stomach. What I've had was they totally just remove the lower portion so you have a controlled amount that you can eat, and as opposed to the bypass is such a dramatic thing for people who are really, really overweight. So, But but I also took what the doctor said, and exercising and trying to eat, doing the right thing eating wise, and drinking lots of water. Water was the key thing, I think, helping out flush the fat and stuff like that as well. Know somebody who had an operation, and you could see the changes that was happening for her, and I'm like, it's a good thing. It's it's a tool. When she started talking to me about it, I'm like, it's not a fix. And people, on site for Facebook say, we have pages that people are like, oh, it's so easy when you do that. And I'm like, it's not easy. It's actually even harder now because I have limited what I can take in. So I have to think about it all the time and making sure that I'm getting the right amount of protein and minerals or vitamins and everything like that. Because I'm, it's only a controlled amount of food that I can take in. The person who had the operation, she had breast cancer. She had just been fighting it, and this is one of the things that she was doing to help reduce risks of perhaps happening again in loss of weight. She was very heavy. So, and thinking about that, my mom and dad both have cancer at the moment. My dad had cancer, skin cancer, had a whole graft of his nose and a whole big operation. My mom has stomach cancer. So cancer itself is something that, I'm like, I'm gonna try to defend myself as best as I can. My grandparents, my grandfather had, cancer, died of that. My other grandmother just died of old age. But, it's like my younger one, my mom's dad died of a heart attack. But, so it's health reasons you want to do better. Right. So that was definitely, to be there for, Spencer, and, to, be there for my nieces and nephews as well, and just to be alive, and to recapture life. As far as the seminar, it was more of, the things that what would actually happen in, the operation, say what this can do for you, and how it's about a change. It's not, you can't just, have this done and just drink shakes, or, it was more about the positive side and, weight loss itself. The fact that they've been doing it for so many years, the quality of life that changes is amazing. So, it was a lot of patients prior who had, gone through it. And it's really, that is the kind of, what they do is put actually people who have gone through it, so you see what the results are. And different types of people, all different types of people. You have people who are, maybe sending in the jobs, people who are, driving around, people who deal with, being, in like a nightclub situation, and how do you deal with, say, drinking? How do you deal with food in an atmosphere, or how do you deal with, all different types of things? And, for the most part, it was like interesting because you just see that everybody can struggle. So that pitch was like, well, and how safe it was. It was really, the concern is like, it's a major operation. And to go through this, it's like, there's 6 months of preparation now that you have to go through. They really are looking to have you meet with nutritionists monthly to really learn and understand that what's going through the process, so you actually prepare yourself prior and after, so the pre-op and post. The actual shrinking of your liver, they ask you to lose weight as well, drinking water, really getting a healthier side of it. To be honest, it was really kind of really good to do. It felt good because I knew I could lose weight, because I've done it before, and I like to bike ride. So that was one of the things I implemented, biking and walking and starting to run. I mean, I was never a runner in life, but now I do run. In the 6 months, I lost 40 pounds. They ask you to lose 25. So, but I ended up losing 40. And so it's, towards the end, there's a regimented diet that they ask you to do. And you end up doing a whole body cleanse, where you go from, solids down to not so solid, down to pretty much clear liquids, broths for like the last 2 weeks. So you're really trying to clean your body out. So in order to get okay from the other doctors, I was ending up having to do a stress test like the weekend right before. And then they wanted me to do a nuclear stress test. I was having issues with bursitis in my arms. So all these things are part of being overweight. Your body's pushed to the limits. Your joints are, solid fat around them. So it's like, you always have inflammation. I don't have inflammation at all now, unless it's from working out. I don't take any pain medication or anything like that. I take vitamins and calcium, and that's it. Surgery was a few hours or so, maybe 3 or so. I mean, I don't remember the exact time, because naturally the just to, the anesthesia really knocked me out. I was really under for quite a while, and then once I came out of it, I was totally, it took me a while to kind of recoup, but it was 2 nights overstay at the hospital at Mather, and great time. I mean, as far as the nurses, the doctors coming in and seeing, just really making sure I was good, and it was really, once I was done, it was like, okay, and it's right from that point, just knowing that I was now moving forward. You're losing weight. Your body is emotionally changing physically, the physicality, the chemistry of your whole body. So dealing with that is part of something that I never even thought of. The emotional days, I mean, I would just literally just all of a sudden just cry. But it's like a release because it's, I don't know, it's mental, different things happening. And, as you would start to, and I lost very fast because I was exercising, because I was doing right, eating the right proteins. So I was really seeing changes go so fast, and I'm like, never ever in my life thought I would be becoming this person. Yeah. Before my age. I'm like, I maybe thought about like but also my vision of who I was never as heavy as I think that, I know I was. Most people are like, oh, you didn't seem that big. I'm like, well, but I was. I carried it well. I think that's something that, I don't know, so, but definitely the struggles that I had, it really came down to understanding how much I could eat and just getting that really, the practice of what the routine became. And that's one of the things, I never had a real goal on weight as far as, people like, oh, the doctor would like you to, the doctor thought I'd lose like 100, 120 pounds. Losing 165 total, he was totally blown out of the water. Because the operation itself is only a certain tool, but like to do past what, I was doing, and I don't know, as I said, that's why I think they underestimated, which is really, I felt, and I still feel great about that I can, go about that and have done that for myself. There's certain things that I have found that so food addictions. So like, just like say, I don't feel hunger anymore. So I don't feel like, that's why I always have to eat. So like if I get on a binge or if I feel like I'm eating something, I have to stop. It's like, so like sweets, or like, so I know the trigger foods for myself when I was overweight. Sweets and things like that would be the things. So I make sure I don't buy those things so they're not in the house, so I can't trigger myself to those. So I have a cupboard full of like corn chips and things like that when people come over, but I don't even think about eating those. I think about in practice now. And I said, because of when they remove the lower portion, the gland that produces hunger is in there, and so I don't feel hungry, so I don't feel like I gotta nosh on things. Like, oh, I'm hungry. I love to smell food, I love, things, but like, I'll sit there and I'm like, oh, I know how little I can eat. So it's like, as I said, that's why I've always now strive for the quality of food. The biggest support, I think, was probably friends and a lot of on Facebook groups that I belong to for weight loss. These groups that were just, specifically people who have had the operations or similar things. And because you just realize that you can talk to people who haven't had something like this done and they can understand, but like people are going through it. And that's the thing too, is where it's like the positivity of like sharing what you've learned with other people and helping them. So it kind of helps you just solidify what you've learned. There's ones here for like, Suffolk County or regional, and it got to the point where like prior to the operation, I got added to one, and it was like great. So it was like for the year of last year. Anybody who had an operation last year was, or wanted to be in a group that was, and it was interesting because you could ask questions prior. You could see how people are, going through it. For me, it was like I had a lot of questions, but just understanding what people are going through in different areas of the country as well. Learning a lot of people, maybe the insurance didn't cover it here. A lot of people go to Mexico to get it done. So it's like, well, how do you deal with that when your doctors or your surgeon's there, and how do you do follow-ups? And so it was always like, what has your doctor told you to procedurally eat now? Like, what is your regimen? And I found it was very different all over. So it was like, okay, I stuck to what I was told and listened, and I said, well, this is what I'm doing. This is what my doctor said, and these are the results that he's having, in 14 years, like thousands and thousands of people. And I think me posting as I was losing and having friends on social media really, cheer me on or say, your inspiration or thanks, or, like kind of just really recognize what was happening and really, back and forth, the thanks that I was getting and, what I was giving to people to maybe, help them out in some way. I definitely say consider this kind of a thing because, you ask for help, find out, do something. I mean, if you say, in 2012 when I tried to lose weight, I was 330 pounds. By myself, I lost 30, and I struggled to get past 300, and I couldn't. And I broke down, and that's how I gained the 30 back and 35 or more plus. So I know I was over 365 because my scale only went to that. And for months, it would just say error, like over. So I knew I was bigger than that. And then, for a long time, it was just one of those things where my body started to grow. I'm like, I got to do something and just find a way to do something for yourself. And, but do it for yourself is the key.
Bit for You are backyard inspirational talks for people just like you. We're looking for people that have inspirational stories. So if you know something that's going on or you have a great story, please let us know. Contact us through Facebook, and thanks for watching.